Hello, this is your main man, Dr. Life, in the business of saving lives, first responder, responding to unnatural, artificial, man-made disasters. My wife, Dr. Kenisha Life, myself, Dr. Life, and all of my children, we're creating a very special group to give you access to very special coaching from Dr. Eric Thomas, Dr. E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher. It's called the Top Flight Assessment. Extreme execution. And on top of that gift, a communication tool based off of your learning style, your brain. And it teaches you how to execute on the highest level in your learning style. And also teaches you how to communicate effectively with your family members, on your job, in your business, whatever. But on top of that, ET has come back and created a 21-day how to get into from the bottom 99 to the top 1% in 21 days. A new principle every day to help you climb that ladder. And we want to invite you. We want to be your bridge. We want to be your key. We create a special group within the group. Then it's going to be live conferences where he's going to take the training that's online that we're going to give you access to. Invite you to the conference. And then we're going to invite you to join our special Top Gun, Top Flight assessment. Because with our coaching, we doing makeovers, marriage makeovers, financial makeovers, physical fitness makeovers, holy spiritual fitness makeovers, 4D. We're going to take that training from ET. We're going to help you apply it to the 4 most important phases of your life: transformation and transfiguration. So now I'm going to turn it over to ET.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And for the final time, welcome back to the 1% Challenge. This is it, y'all. The grand finale. We got ET, we got Maul, we got CJ. Hey, just swap me for Carl, and we got a whole S2S episode about to go down right now. We have your questions that you submitted to us ready to go. But before we dive in, y'all know I got to give you a quick story just one last time. Now, you heard ET say it. When you put you together, your world comes together. But here's the catch, though. As you put yourself together, you might not be able to see what your world will look like when it as you're putting yourself together. It might be the case that you have absolutely no clue whatsoever what your world will look like when it does eventually come together. And this is why we have to trust the process and walk by faith, not by sight, because God will give you the inspiration. He'll give you a vision of some kind, but he won't always show you the specifics. And he's definitely not going to show you how it's going to happen, because that would remove the necessity of faith. I promise y'all, you've heard my story. When I was getting cut from the team every single year at Michigan, but still pouring into my development, still reading books, still getting up early, still training, still being the first one in the gym and the last one out, even though I was getting no reward for it. It looked like I was doing all of that for absolutely no reason. Like I looked crazy for doing that stuff in the moment. I had no idea that God was going to lead me to get introduced to ET, that he was preparing me to have something of value and substance to say when he eventually put me on stage one day, that season of my life would allow me to empathize with and help more people, right? As I was putting myself together, I had no clue what my world was going to look like. I was putting my world together in the process, but it didn't always feel like it. And I didn't always see it until after the work had already been completed. Ladies and gentlemen, all I want to tell you this morning is that the process works even when it looks like it isn't. And just in case you needed one more testimony to walk out that scriptural guidance in your life and to truly walk by faith, not by sight, this is your sign. All right. Trust the process. ET, for the final time in the 1% challenge, take it away, sir.
Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy ET. It's the 1% challenge. B, it's the last day, B.
Last one, best one.
Nah, this is the last one. All right, listen to me. Before we hit that tree. Okay, and I should say this. I'm sorry. It's the last day for the 21-day challenge, but we're doing an encore. All right, we coming back. So many of y'all was like, I'll be good to you. Good to you. You said he is good to me. So we're going to come back December 8th. We're going to do an encore. I ain't going to tell you for how long, but we are going to come back for an encore. I promise you it's going to be at least a week. We're going to come back for an encore. And we're going to remember what I told you. This is not an event. This is not a conference. This is a 1% men's solution, a 1% woman solution, a 1% family solution. Does that make sense? We're not trying to hype you up. We're not trying to motivate you. And for a lot of you, I feel like that's what we own. That's why I'm coming back for the encore, because I want to make sure, we get a little bit more technical with some of you, because some of you getting it. I see it. You processing it, right? But others, you're still just listening into it in the gym, right? Some of you just on your commute listening, right? And I'm not mad at you for doing it that way, but it's ending right there. Like you're not coming back and flushing it out. So we going even today, we're going to do this a little bit, like not just Q&A. We're going to give you the rationale. Like we're going to show y'all the mindset of the 1% and how we do it, right? So, yep, we're going to answer your question, but we're going to show you our mindset. Like, why did we choose to do it this way? All right. So before we go there, I got to give it to you. James 1:5-8. I got to give it to you. We're going to, one of them, look, man, y'all, man, my daughter grown, my daughter grown, I'm talking about grown. And we were talking today, and I said to Jada, I said, okay, I read John Maxwell's book, and he was talking about being a better listener. And I was just like, okay, I have a problem though listening to okay, can I say it this way, Brandon? I have a problem sometimes listening to the 1%. Does that make sense? I just have a problem sometimes listening to the 1%ers. I'm sorry, the 99%ers. I do. I'm like literally. Sometimes I just have a problem listening to the 99%ers, bro. It's just like I can't listen to that. And so my daughter said to me, she said, Dad, you have a problem listening to the 99 percenters because you're so worried about the outcome that sometimes you miss the process. Okay, I want to make sure y'all caught that. Want to make sure you caught that. That's a mindset thing. Jada was like, yo, Dad, don't get so caught up on just the outcome of winning and making it happen that you forget the process. So sometimes it's just listening to people. You feel me? It's just listening to people. And it's the you know what I'm saying? Like it's the process, Dad. So I'm like, okay, I got you. So I want y'all to know we're gonna come with the 1% mindset to help you guys to clearly understand. So real quick, James 1, 5 through 8. If any of you lack wisdom, remember I told you, you got to come with your stuff. Like, what are you bringing before God? Right? What are you bringing before God? What's the challenge? What's the issue? If any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person shall not expect. Such a person is a double-minded man. It is unstable in all their ways. All right. So remember, I told you, you got to do two things. One, you got to ask in faith. Maul know all about that word. You can't just go to God asking. You got to ask in faith. And then number two, he's going to give you wisdom. You do exactly what he tells you to do. So when I talked about my crib in Cali, I had a conversation with Maul. Maul's like, here's what you need to buy. This is what you need to do. And let me just tell y'all, over 100% blessings sense in terms of equity, over 100%. You hear me? All right. And so I'm gonna get out the way. We're gonna start with Brandon. You've been doing intros and outros, but you got a couple questions. Give us your question that the men have asked you. Remember, 1% mindset. Tell them why you're doing it this way, or maybe tell them how you used to think like a 99 percenter and what's changed. Talk to them.
Yeah. So we got so many questions. We could only pick a few of them, but I got two right here in front of me. And the first one that really stood out to me was, how can I become a better two-man as a grounds crew and become the best two-man I can possibly be for my pilot? And the 99% version of me, when I first started working with you over 6 years ago, would have said, well, I'm not a pilot, therefore this is irrelevant to me. Like I can't grow my pilot. I can't change. Matter of fact, as a grounds crew, one of the number one things that I hate is change. So asking me to change, I would have been just resistant to the whole idea. The new 1% version is no. I owe it to the person I'm working for, that pilot that I'm attached to become the best grounds crew or the best two-man that I can be. But not only that, I owe it to myself to become the best two-man and grounds crew that I can be, because that will only lead to more opportunity for me. So the first thing that you have to do is get rid of the mindset that that's not who you are. You can't change. You can't be a good two-man because you're a grounds crew and you're just here to support. That's not what that means, right? The assessment or who you are or what personality style you are is not a limitation. It's not putting you in a box. It's not limiting you to a certain set of behaviors or not. You can always grow no matter what you are. So that's the first thing that I would say. Now, to actually answer the question, how do you become the best two-man for your pilot? You have to grow your pilot without trying to out-pilot the pilot that you're working for. So what does that mean? When I say grow your pilot does not, the pilot that's in your life, they do not have the time, nor do they want to make all the decisions. And that's why they hired you. Like, I'll never forget the first time that I went to ET with a question. He was like, I don't know, you're my agent. That's your decision. You figure it out. And a lot of people with a response like that might get offended. But in reality, what that means is he trusts me. And my job, the way that I make my money, is by making those decisions on his behalf, right? So if you're not decisive, if you can't negotiate, if you can't deal with change, if you're not comfortable in those environments, that's not only going to limit you, but it's going to limit the pilot that you serve. So the first step is growing your own inner pilot. And you might say, well, how do you do that? It has never been easier. So when I did it, ET threw me into the fire and said, okay, go negotiate for me. And I learned as I went. These days, you can literally go to ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, I want you to act like an executive of a Fortune 500 company, and I want you to push back on me while we try and negotiate. Put it on the voice mode and literally talk to it. So you can literally practice dealing with conflict, practice being decisive, practice whatever those pilot attributes are that you need to grow in an environment where there's no stakes. It is zero pressure. So that's the first thing I would do, is do some sort of daily practice to increase and grow your pilot. Now, here's the caveat that I put on the end of that, E. Do not try to outpilot the pilot that you're with. Because when I say grow your own pilot, what that does not mean is somehow get it in your head that you're the new pilot now, you're the new big dog on the block, and you should be the one man, not the two man, right? And we've heard E and CJ talk about this over and over throughout the challenge and in other content. The reason that most dynamic duos split up and break up and do not stand the test of time is because whoever is the two man, instead of keeping their focus on support and growing their own pilot to support the unit, they end up just trying to support themselves. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have your own thing. It just means that in that environment, your job is to serve and to be the best two man that you can be. So I treat people and decisions and conflict differently within ET's organization than I do my own business. Like, I have my own business with my own other clients outside of ET. I'm way more pilot-like in that environment because that's my job. And as a grounds crew, part of your superpower is your flexibility. So you just have to have the self-awareness to understand, okay, in this environment, in this role, I'm growing my pilot not for the sake of outshining that other pilot in my life. I'm growing it for the sake of supporting that other pilot in my life. Then when you're in a different environment doing your own thing, great, go be the boss. But you got to keep those two separate. So grow your pilot, but never try and outshine the pilot that you're supporting. That's what I would say, E.
Yep, that's good. That's good. You want to go with your second one? You want Maul to?
Oh, let's go back and forth. I want to hear Maul get in here.
Well, hey, I'm gonna just cut. Hey, Brent, I got 2.5. I know. He said 2. I got 2.5 though, because there's one question on there I just couldn't. You know, said it was talking about my queen, so I had to.
Yeah, and I said, and I'm gonna be real, y'all. I told him that's not even fair. Like that's we can't even. We probably won't even glean where he gleaned from it. You know what I'm saying? So I told him, just give me one more.
Hey, if this was the podcast, I would tell the camera to put it right at me. But I'll go with my first one. So the question was, what is the first step for someone who wants to be 1% but has lost his fight from being from being beat down by life? Hey, I wanted to take that one because it's so deep, and that's everybody, right? At one point in time, I was beat down, right? When I didn't make it to the NFL, I was beat down, bro. I told you I was suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic sports disorder, where I just thought that I was going to make it, right? I just knew I was right at the front door of being a 1%. But the thing that I want, the first step, right? So we're going to break this thing down. The first step is, just because your reality is what it is, doesn't mean that your speech has to be that, right? Look, in the word, it teaches us, let the weak say, I am strong. Let the sick say, I am healed. You're not supposed to speak your current reality. You're supposed to speak exactly what you want your reality to become. So just because you're beat down don't mean that your speech has to be beat down. It doesn't mean that your vision got to be beat down. It doesn't mean that everything that you want has to be beat down, right? Just because, your reality you feel is beat down. So for someone who wants to be the 1% but lost his fight, the first step is to change your speech. The second one I'm going to give you, the second step is, I always say, one of my favorite scriptures is, iron sharpens iron as one brother sharpens another. You need to get in the room with other 1%ers. I cannot stress this enough. I always talk. Now, this is not a scripture. This is Jamal, right? Your level of exposure will determine your level of success. So if you're beat down, life has gotten you Get around other individuals that's doing it on a high level. Get in the room of other motivated individuals, other people that's not beat down. And I guarantee you the yoke, I always like to say the yoke that's on them is going to fall off on you unconsciously, but you're in a room of people that's just beat down also. You know, they're not going to do anything and be able to help get you out of that situation. So you want to get around other 1%ers. And it's something about proximity. It's something about being in a room. When I tell you, man, I can't make this up. When I talk about exposure, here it is. You just heard E talk about real estate. You just heard E talk about equity. You heard him talk about what he got going on. You guys been knowing just over the last few years, I've been speaking. I've been on stages. I did a keynote in front of 20,000 people. It's a reason why E is doing real estate, and it's a reason why I'm doing motivational speaking now. It's something about exposure. So please, my second step to that is get in the room with other individuals that's not where you're at, but where you want to be.
That's good, Ma. That's good. Come on, let's go. Let's go with it. Give me the 0.5, and then Brandon, you take back over. Give me the 0.5 one.
Well, I didn't do my second question. You want me to go to 0.5 or you want me to go to the second?
I want you to go to 0.5, and then we'll go to Brandon and come back with the question that can help us.
Okay, cool. So
0.5.
0.5 right now. All right, now come on. All right, 0.5. How did you know your wife was the one for you?
Ducky, quack, quack.
I'm gonna have to get a short answer because if I go,
if you go long, it might be like turn into a podcast.
It might go into a podcast, bro. But you know, as y'all know, I've been blessed to find my wife at an early age. I've been with Camille ever since I was 16 years old, and I can tell you that when we were in college, and I could just give you a couple of examples. I remember I broke my right wrist in a football game, and I used to wait to the last minute to do my papers. And Camille, you know, she was there at school with me, and she knew that, she knew what I was trying to do in life. And I remember breaking my arm, and I had to have a paper that was due on Monday. My football game was a Saturday night game. And on Sunday, I'll never forget. I mean, Camille was looking at me and she's like, "Are you gonna do your paper? You know, this paper is like a big percentage of your grade." And I remember just being defeated. I remember just saying, you know, man, my arm is broke. We lost the football game. I didn't have a great game. I remember just being down and out. And I remember, man, how she was just pouring into me. It was something that felt familiar, but it was something that I was not used to. And she was pouring into me. I was broken. I couldn't write. I couldn't type. Man, she went, not only did she type my paper, she wrote my paper, typed my paper. And then the next day, she went and got me breakfast. My head is sitting there, man, on the table when I woke up, bro. And with a paper it was a 20-page paper that was typed out, bro. And I just was like, man, what? And she put in there, she wrote on that paper, on the first page of that paper, "I believe in you." Bruh, what kind of love is that? Where somebody just cares that much about the things that you got going on in life. And so I was always, you know, in church with my family. But then I remember coming home for Christmas break. I was 18 years old. And while my boys, the girls they were dating was inviting them to the club, she invited me to church. And I remember just being there at church with her and her family, and I never said this. I don't even think you ever known this. I got saved at Camille's church when I was 18 years old. I got saved.
I never heard that before.
Yeah, I got saved at Camille's church at 18 years old with her mother and her two sisters. And I was there at their church service, at their family church. And it was just that they all, man, and her mom and her sisters and Camille, man, they all like put me in the middle of them, bro. And they always just praying for me, dog. And I just like, man, what is this? It was just a different kind of, and they were just telling me, man, that I'm gonna be a mighty man of God. On that same, and then this is my last one. Then a year later, or 2 years later, I was on my 21st birthday. Another football game. I got hit so hard in my stomach went up into my esophagus. And they had to go in and do emergency surgery and take my stomach out. Camille's grandmother, it was literally on June 22nd, on my 21st birthday. Her grandmother came to my parents' house after the surgery. And I'll never forget, man, I had balloons up there. I was just sitting there and couldn't move, couldn't eat, couldn't do anything. And her grandma literally, bro, went and had some blessed oil. And she sat there the whole time while I was in pain in my room. And she was just rubbing oil on me and praying over my body and praying over me. It was unreal, bro. All the pain left my body, and she was just speaking a word into me and just telling me that I'm gonna be a mighty man of God, and God got a calling over my life. And you and Camille are gonna be a blessing to so many people.
Oh, she ain't never lied.
Oh, bruh.
She ain't never lied.
Bro, I was 21, and Camille was just so how did I know Camille was the one for me? It was something bigger than just her. It was her family. It was just where she came from. It was just how much she poured into me, and the same things that she did back then when she was only 16 years old, 18 years old, is the same thing that she is doing today. And so I knew it, man. I never experienced a love like that before. I've never in my life experienced
never knew love like this before.
Somebody that cared about, and it was not, what I mean by love, I want y'all to understand, it wasn't about somebody that cared about my physical body. She literally cared about my soul.
Oh no, that's it. That's two. That ain't 2.5. You took that somewhere. Yeah, you took that somewhere we could get blessed. Brandon, talk to me before I bring C in. You know, C ain't never like quiet. So we got a position where we get to talk before we can bring him in. So give me that next one, and then I'm gonna be like, C, come on, holla at your boy.
Yeah, we got to get it in while we can. Hey,
Yeah.
Maul, just know I'm paying attention, man. I'm paying attention. I'm still single, so I'm paying attention and looking for the right thing. So that answer blessed
Look
me.
for the oil. She got the oil rubbed. Look for the oil.
Oh man. Okay, so here's the second question that I got in front of me. It says, how do you create that dog inner confidence? And then how do you sustain the inner dog and command presence? So I'm not going to give you a personal development answer because I've read all the books, I've listened to all the tapes, and I know we've all heard it before, right? You write down your affirmation, you say it a few times during the day, you write it on a sticky note, you put it on your bathroom mirror. Like, I've heard that stuff. And I'll just be honest, for me, it wasn't enough. And if that stuff works for you, if that's how you increase your confidence, praise God, keep doing it. For me, I felt like I was starting from so far behind because of, you could call it childhood trauma, you could call it personality type, whatever you want to say. But I was starting from so far behind that wasn't enough to push me into being truly confident. For me, I had to have a track record. That's where it all came from. Because I look back at my life now and I go, wow, B, you really used to get panic attacks talking in front of 20 people because you were so introverted. And now you've been on stage in front of thousands. Like, wow, B, you used to hate conflict and negotiation. Now you've closed over $10 million in sales. Wow, B, you used to be so inarticulate with your words. You wrote an Amazon bestseller now. And so eventually I just started to believe that no matter what situation I found myself in, I've got what it takes to figure it out. And that came from the track record and the evidence and the receipts that I've built up over time. So the question then becomes, how do you actually get there? And if you're anything like me, if you're a grounds crew, the reality is you might not be comfortable pushing yourself to the extent where you can build up those receipts and those accolades and that evidence of who you truly are. Because I wasn't. Like, I will be the first to tell you that if E.T. had not put a microphone in my hand for the first time 6 years ago in Atlanta in Ponce City Market for a pro bono gig in front of about 300 people, I would have been the last person that ever would have self-selected and raised my hand and said, I want to be a public speaker. That never would have happened. But because of that, that led to, oh, look what I can push through. Look at the fear I can overcome. Look at the change I can make within myself. So I had to get myself around people who believed in me more than I believed in myself. I had to get myself in an environment around people who were willing to push me harder than I was willing to push myself. And because I got into that environment, the track record and the receipts and the evidence came almost by default. So if you're a true grounds crew, I would just encourage you, don't even try and do it on your own. Like, get around people who will help push you down that path. Now, the second part of that question was, how do you gain the confidence? We just talked about that. The second part was, how do you sustain the confidence? And you guys have heard me talk about this time and time again. Every day means every day. Every day means every day. So for me, my daily habit is I work out every single day. I've worked out every single day for over 10 years straight. Now, sometimes that's a 2-hour, Jamal style workout with 2 trainers in the gym. But sometimes Jamal, I just got to do 20 push-ups before I go to bed. Sometimes I got to do 20 sit-ups before I go to bed because I'm on the road, I'm traveling, it's 3:00 in the morning. But I promise you, I will not go to sleep without doing something that upholds that standard and checks that box. For me, that's how I sustain the confidence. Because people might ask, okay, how do you know in your heart of hearts that you're consistent? How do you know in your heart of hearts that you're a fighter? How do you know in your heart of hearts that you can do anything you set your mind to? Because I've got 10 years of receipts. And so once you begin to collect the receipts and the evidence and the proof that you are who you say you are and who God told you that you were, now you have to uphold it. And I promise you, if I stopped working out every day, my confidence would take a hit, because I might think that I am who I say I am. I might speak that I am who I say I am. But you can kid a kid, you can fool a fool, you can con a con, but you can't lie to yourself.
I like that when he say that. Say that again, B. I like that. I like when he say that, Maul.
It's fast, too. If you don't do it fast, it doesn't have the same effect. You can kid a kid, you can fool a fool, you can con a con, but you cannot lie to yourself. And so if you're sitting there and you're shouting affirmations in the mirror saying, I'm consistent, I'm powerful, I'm dedicated, I'm committed, and then you let yourself down on a daily basis, your soul will believe part of what you tell it and all of what you show it. So of course you're not going to be confident. Of course you're going to think that you're full of it, because you have not been upholding what you claim to be. So step one, get in the right environment, get around some people that are going to push you, start collecting those receipts and that evidence that you really are greater than maybe even you think that you are. And then step two, find some kind of daily practice that you can anchor yourself to, so that you know without a shadow of a doubt that you are reaffirming your identity on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's good, bro. That's good. All right, before C, I'm just going to do this one real quick. How did you build emotional regulation when your triggers come from childhood experiences that you've only now are becoming aware of? I'm going to say this. I want to answer this for the people who they didn't ask this question because they're not at a place where they realize it now. So I'm gonna speak to them and then come back to this. There are those of you who don't know, and I'm telling you, the reason why I'm finally regulating my emotions is because I'm not emotionally driven anymore. I'm data driven now, right? And so what do I mean by that? There were times where my wife might have told me you were as emotional, or my daughter might have been like, Dad, you whatever. And I just was lazy. You know what I'm saying? And when I say lazy, I mean I was killing it in speaking. I was killing it, in the spiritual game. My prayer life, I'm talking about like, I don't even want to say some of the stuff that I've prayed for that God answered and it blocked somebody else. I'm talking about on some crazy stuff. I was like, God, I don't feel it. And God was like, I got you. But I was being lazy with my emotions because it wasn't something that I was trying to be aware of. Meaning, yeah, of course, people were saying things. I saw things. I left home at 16 years old with nowhere to go. In an abandoned building, eating out trash cans. When my family had money. That's Brandon. That should have been an indicator then that I was emotional. Like I should have put 2 and 2 together. It was like, you'd rather stay outside than stay in a house. You're emotional. You'd rather go without eating and sit at the table and eat like that's emotional. So I want to say, stop being lazy, meaning you're overlooking signs because you don't want to do the work. So they talked about every day means every day. Bro, I don't care what kind of muscles you got. If you have muscles, you didn't get none of them from being lazy. If you have mental muscles, you weren't lazy. If you have physical muscles, you weren't lazy. And I was being lazy emotionally. And so there were signs, and I just didn't want to pay attention to them because I didn't want to do the work. because I didn't want to, like, I'm already in school getting a PhD. I'm already preaching all over the world. I'm already killing it in the motivational game. I'm already the developmental game. I'm already killing it financially. We got to do something else. But that's the mindset of the 99%, y'all. I'm just being real, where you are okay with winning over here and losing over here. And that's the thing I love about Michael Jordan. I just did some work for the Jordan brand in Malibu, 2 days, right? And so they brought the kids in. Maul, I'm like, genius. Before they did the drills, Maul, before they hooped, they had to come to me first and work on their mind. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, okay, now we own to something. And so it's like, at one point in my life, I didn't care if I put up points and I didn't play defense. At one point in my life, I didn't care if I, wasn't a good teammate, as long as I was putting up points. And then I got to a point, I was like, bro, if you got one area that you losing, it could tear everything down. It's a different mindset, y'all. That's why Mark got the 5 pillars. You got to win in every area, because one crack could tear the whole arm. Bro, just think about it. Goliath just did one thing wrong. He didn't have on a helmet. Bro, it's the smallest part of his whole body. He didn't have on no helmet. But that one area that he left open where David could take a rock and, okay, all right. Anyway, so number 2, after I stopped being lazy, guess what? He said it. I just had to go back to my childhood. And I had to have a conversation with him and say, bruh, apologize. It's okay. Say you sorry. It's okay. Right? So give y'all an example. One of the things I had to apologize for was the way I saw stuff. I saw it negatively. This ain't your real father. Why did your mom lie to you? I was like, bro, I'm going to give you a chance to start all over again. Give your 12-year-old self, your 13-year-old self, tell him you're sorry and give him a chance to redo it. And so then I said, you know what? My mother didn't lie. She was trying to protect me. My mother wasn't trying to keep my biological father from me. He didn't want me. She was trying to find somebody who would raise me, who did. So my father who raised me, he wasn't lying when he gave me his last name. What he was doing was adopting me and saying everything that's mine's is yours when I die. Everything I go to work for is for you. And so it was like, hey, 13-year-old self, you were angry, you were hurt. Makes sense. But let's apologize. And now let's give that 13-year-old an opportunity to do it all over again, to fix his thinking, to fix his perspective. And when I did that, I healed that 13-year-old. I healed that 12-year-old that found out the man that was raising him wasn't his biological father. I gave that kid a chance to take the test over, Brandon. He got a second chance. Take the test over. And when he took the test at 53, he was able to pass that test. So a lot of times, Maul talks about, man, handling your business, but that 12-year-old unfortunately didn't get, in the right, he wasn't in and I say this with all due respect, but my mom was 17 when she got pregnant with me. She's a kid herself. So I didn't necessarily come into like that 12-year-old did what he was supposed to do for the 22-year-old, 30-year-old, but being around Maul, hearing Maul talk about the 50-something-year-old was able to go back and talk to the 13-year-old, talk to the 12-year-old, say, bro, it's okay. I know why you did what you did, but we got to switch the game up. We got to make different decisions because we have different information now. Are you with me? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, let's look at it all over again. And we start looking at it all over again. So, all right, Steve, do your thing. I'm going to get out your way, let you do too. And then we're going to do the affirmation. We're going to pray. Let y'all get out here. Remember, this ain't it. This ain't it. We got the encore December 8th. All right. And remember, April is the conference. English. More, how you feel about the conference being, the solution, okay, the strategy, the systems event? How you feel about being in the shop?
Let me tell you something. Sunday, I was all